is buried under layers of silence for security reasons, therefore insecurity. We are broadcasting from an undisclosed location. This is Akashic Echoes, a curiosity-fueled dive into the strange, the hidden, and the wait, what? Corners of human history, where Alex asks the questions others won't. Dr. X opens doors you didn't know existed, and Titus keeps things just grounded enough to follow the thread. It's part investigation, part storytelling, and part late night. What if everything we know is slightly off? We're not here to hand you truth, wrapped in certainty, only to spark thought, entertain the mind, and maybe raise an eyebrow or two. So tune in, enjoy the ride, and remember, take everything with a grain of salt, preferably the size of a small asteroid.
Over the past episodes, we've explored experiments, incidents, programs, fragments of history that don't quite sit comfortably in the official narrative. MK Ultra, Roswell, JFK, Blue Book, moments where something felt incomplete. So tonight we ask a different question. What if these aren't isolated stories, but signals pointing to a larger pattern? Dr. X, are these events connected, or are we connecting dots that were never meant to meet?
Both possibilities exist. But when patterns repeat, secrecy, narrative shifts, partial disclosures, it suggests structure, not necessarily a single orchestrated force, but a system that manages information.
So not one conspiracy, but a recurring behavior.
Correct.
Titus, what you have to add, buddy?
There's a measurable pattern across these cases. Initial event, confusion or contradiction, a stabilizing official narrative, persistent public doubt. That sequence appears repeatedly across unrelated domains.
That's interesting, because it doesn't require everything to be connected, just that the response follows a similar structure.
Correct, Alex. And that structure shapes perception more than the original event.
Let's test that. Take MK Ultra, real program, partially exposed. Roswell, conflicting explanations. Gulf of Tonkin, uncertain event, decisive outcome. Different domains, same pattern?
Consistent in one key way. Information is clarified only after it's already influenced behavior. That delay matters.
Because by the time clarity arrives, the narrative has already done its job.
Correct again.
So what are we really looking at here? Hidden truths? Or something more subtle, like controlled understanding?
Control doesn't always mean deception. Sometimes it means framing, deciding when information appears, how it's presented, and what context surrounds it.
And importantly, that doesn't require a single controlling entity. Large institutions naturally prioritize stability, clarity, and public confidence. Ambiguity is often reduced, even if it means oversimplifying reality.
Thanks, Titus. So the system itself encourages simplified narratives.
Yes, because complexity is difficult to manage, especially at scale.
But that creates a side effect. People begin to feel that something is being hidden. Titus, go ahead, buddy.
And that perception isn't always irrational. When simplified narratives encounter contradictory details, trust erodes.
So we end up in this loop. Information is simplified, leads to details don't fully match, leads to doubt increases, leads to alternative explanations emerge.
Exactly, Alex. And those alternative explanations range from insightful to extreme.
Let's push this further. Do you think there are truths, not necessarily hidden, but considered too complex or destabilizing to fully explain?
Yes, not because they're extraordinary, but because they're uncertain. And uncertainty is difficult to communicate without losing control of interpretation.
That aligns with known communication strategies. Uncertainty is often reduced in public messaging to maintain clarity and prevent misinterpretation. But reducing uncertainty can also remove nuance.
So in trying to make things clearer, we may actually be losing accuracy.
Or depth.
So maybe the real thread connecting everything we've explored isn't hidden knowledge, but how knowledge is handled.
That's a grounded interpretation, not a hidden master narrative, but a consistent human tendency to organize, simplify, and sometimes contain information in ways that prioritize function over completeness.
Which leaves us, here, trying to piece together a picture from fragments that were never meant to be assembled this way.
And yet, that act of questioning is where awareness begins.
So after everything, MK Ultra, Roswell, JFK, Blue Book, Tunguska, HAARP, we're left not with a single answer, but a better question. Are we searching for hidden truths, or learning to recognize how truth is shaped? Because maybe the signal was never hidden, just buried in noise. Across this season of Akashic Echoes, we moved through moments that shaped perception as much as history itself. Experiments that questioned ethics, incidents that fractured trust, and narratives that evolved long after the events they described. From the controlled confines of MK Ultra to the open skies of Roswell, from the unresolved echoes of Dallas to the structured inquiries of Blue Book, each episode revealed the same quiet tension, not just what happened, but how we were told it happened. As the scope widened, so did the pattern. The surreal edges of the Philadelphia experiment, the moral weight of Operation Paperclip, and the cosmic ambiguity of Tunguska reminded us that uncertainty exists on every level, scientific, political, and human. And when that uncertainty meets the need for clarity, something changes. The Gulf of Tonkin showed how interpretation can drive consequence, while HAARP demonstrated how modern complexity fuels speculation. Different domains, different stakes, but the same underlying rhythm: event, interpretation, narrative, and doubt. What emerges is not a single hidden truth waiting to be uncovered, but a consistent structure in how truth is shaped, simplified, and delivered. Not necessarily deception, but framing. Not necessarily conspiracy, but convergence. A system, human by nature, that prioritizes understanding over completeness, stability over ambiguity. And in doing so, it leaves behind gaps, spaces where questions live and where signals can be mistaken for noise. So as this chapter closes, the question remains, not what is hidden from us, but how we interpret what we're given. Because awareness doesn't come from having all the answers, it comes from recognizing the patterns behind them. And maybe that's the real signal, steady, persistent, and easy to miss, unless you're listening for it.
This has been Akashic Echoes. Stay curious, stay aware, and remember, take everything with a grain of salt, preferably the size of a small asteroid. And occasionally, check the source of the salt.